Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia and Bangkok, Thailand are two of the most popular cities for expats and digital nomads to live in Southeast Asia, and for good reason. The reason why cities like Bangkok and Kuala Lumpur are so popular is because these are examples of cities where you are not paying much, but you're getting a lot. These are extremely developed places. At the end of the day, like you spend time there, you will see that they're quite modern, quite developed. They have all the modern conveniences of any tier 1 city, except you're not paying tier 1 city prices, and that is why these places are so popular. And now I have been spending time in both of these places, so in this video I'm gonna give you my thoughts on which one of them is better. So let's get started. There's gonna be one type of person that will strongly prefer Kuala Lumpur, and there will be another type of person that will strongly prefer Bangkok. So as we go through these points, we're gonna sort of unpack what I mean by this, and I'm also gonna tell you which kind of person I am. So let's get started. The first thing is the weather. For a lot of people, weather is going to be a big consideration when they're deciding on where to live or where to base themselves. This is the reason why places like Finland aren't super popular destinations for location independent people, because ain't no one wanna live in a place where it's minus 25 degrees in winter. The pro with these two cities is that they both have warm weather. Most people prefer warm weather over cold weather. Now the con is that it is also very hot. Like for some people it can be even too hot, especially in Bangkok if you're there in certain months of the year. Like I was there in June and it was getting very hot. It was like 35 degrees, feeling more like 40 degrees when you're combining with the air pollution and the humidity and everything. The difference here is that Bangkok is going to be more extreme. In certain months it's going to be just very hot, whereas in other months it can be very pleasant actually if you're there in the dry months. Whereas Kuala Lumpur is going to be more sort of stable throughout the year. It's sort of going to be 31 degrees sort of throughout the year. It's going to be very humid all of the time. Sure, they're going to have the rainy season and the dry season, but it's going to be a bit more predictable. Also, the other thing is that the air pollution in Bangkok in the bad months can get very bad. It's one of the big cons in the city in my opinion. So that is what I have to say about the weather. What about the overall just vibe of the city? So I've spent time now in both of these places and I think they have quite a different vibe to them. Now there's a saying that I've often heard people say is that you party in Bangkok, you do business in Singapore, and you live in Kuala Lumpur. And this sort of reflects the different vibes of all of these different places. Bangkok is very much like a party place. It's like the party capital of the world. Like if you're into nightlife, like it's gonna have the best options for you in the world. And that also reflects the sort of entire vibe of Bangkok. It's a very high energy place. Like there's so much happening around you wherever you're going. Even if you're not into the nightlife, it's just the energy of Bangkok is much higher than the energy of Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur, if I had to sort of describe it in a broad sense, it's going to be more dull, more sort of reserved. It is a Muslim country, a bit more peaceful, not as crazy, not as much happening, much more lower energy. Now, certain kinds of people are gonna prefer that. Certain kinds of people are gonna prefer the higher energy. Bangkok is gonna offer a lot more in terms of food options, in terms of entertainment options, in terms of activities. There's just way much more happening in Bangkok. Just way much like more stimulus there. Like if you're walking around, you can sort of feel that energy around you. Whereas Kuala Lumpur is gonna be a lot more relaxed, a lot more peaceful. So vibe-wise, if you prefer that kind of sort of New York City vibe where it's just like so much like action things happening around you, Bangkok is going to be more for you. Probably if you're younger, if you're single, if you're into dating, you want to date, then Bangkok is going to offer more of the vibe that you're looking for. Whereas perhaps if you're a bit older, perhaps if you have a family, you're looking for a place to like raise kids and like have a bit more of a peaceful life, you're not really looking for that energy, then Kuala Lumpur is probably going to have more of your kind of energy. Walking around Kuala Lumpur, especially in the city center, feels a lot more like walking around Singapore than it does like walking around Bangkok. It's very sort of clean, very developed, very modern feel. Although if you go outside of the KLCC, the city center, it can be a lot poorer, a lot less nice in my opinion. Whereas Bangkok feels significantly less clean, it smells a lot more. Now again, if you're in the right areas, if you're in the sort of Sukhumvit area where most of the expats are gonna live, it's actually very modern. It's not really smelly, like it's quite a nice city to walk around. So really always depends on the area. But Bangkok overall is gonna have more of that like New York City sort of gritty, sort of dirty vibes, which I actually kind of surprisingly like that. Food wise, this is again going to be personal preference. For example, do you prefer Malaysian food or do you prefer Thai food? Now that's going to be the first obvious consideration. For me personally, I found that Bangkok just had a lot more options in terms of like when I'm just looking at the grab, like what kind of food to order. It just had a lot more of the kinds of options that looked appetizing to me that I really wanted to eat. Walking around in the city, there just seemed to be a lot more restaurants that I'm seeing. Like, yeah, I'd love to go there, I'd love to go there. But I wouldn't say either of these cities are bad for food. Both of them are really great food cities in my opinion, but this was just my personal observation. And in both of these places, you can eat extremely cheaply. You can eat the street food that both of these cities are going to have, and that can be just very, very affordable. Or you can go to restaurants. Obviously, restaurants are still going to be much cheaper than a Western city or a Dubai or a Singapore or something like that, but it is going to be much more expensive than the street food. In terms of getting work done, if you're like a digital nomad, an expat, the kinds of things that you're going to be looking for are good internet speed. Both of these places are going to have excellent internet speeds. You're going to be looking for good infrastructure in terms of accommodation, in terms of co-working. Now, both of these places are going to have those. I don't think there's really any difference in terms of that. Both of these cities, again, one of the reasons why these places are so popular is because they're super convenient, good technology and things like this. So both of these are going to be really great for getting work done, in my opinion. No real difference there. In terms of cost of living, in Bangkok, rents are going to be slightly higher, I found, than Kuala Lumpur. And if you're looking to buy property, then prices in Bangkok are actually going to be quite a bit higher. I think prices in Bangkok can be up to twice the prices in Kuala Lumpur. And this is largely due to, I think, Thailand has been more open to foreigners for longer. It's been more popular for longer, especially it's become much more popular in recent years. So many foreigners moving there. So as an investment, if you're looking for rental yields, probably not the right place to buy, although they could have more capital appreciation and things like this. Obviously, no one knows where the markets are going to go. I think in terms of food, they're going to be very similar. Most things are going to be quite similar, just the difference in property prices that you want to consider. In terms of visas, Thailand is going to have a lot of options. They're going to have the LTR visa, which is going to be for certain kinds of professions, if you're willing to invest around the country. In most cases, the fine print of the visa can be quite restrictive actually. So a lot of the time what people are doing is either doing tourist visas and then doing visa runs, or if you have a lot of money, if you're really looking to make Thailand your long-term base, then you can look into the Thailand Elite visa. That's, in my opinion, the most unique visa I've seen out of any country. Essentially, it gives you residency from between 5 and I think 25 years, depending on the package that you go for. But it is going to be very expensive. Even the cheapest one, and the prices have gone up a lot in recent years, it's going to be $25,000. So like $5,000 a year to have that residency. If you're looking to actually make it a long-term base, then this is going to be a great option because it's just going to give you residency for that long term, not having to renew visas, things like this. And it's going to also give you a lot of benefits. I think you're going to have like expedited immigration. You're going to have this like concierge team and like all these luxury benefits and discounts and things like this. So a very, very interesting one to look at. But if you're not looking to do that, if you want to perhaps make Thailand a short-term base, like something that I'm considering, that they've just recently announced this new Destination Thailand visa. That's going to be like a 6-month visa. I don't know exactly when this is going to go live. So definitely this is an interesting visa to look at. If you want to move to Thailand, if you're interested in any of these visas and you want help with actually getting these visas processed for you, then I will leave a link down below to Siam Legal. They're the most reputable visa agents in Thailand. I got in contact with them and they gave me a link that you can use down below. So if you use that link, then it's no extra cost to you. This is going to give me a bit of a commission if you use their services. So we'll leave that link down below. You can talk to them and they can tell you more about the details on all of the visa options. In terms of Malaysia, they're going to have much less options. So they do have, it's called the Der Rantau. I think it's a 6-month visa that you can get for working remotely in the country. What I have heard, however, is that it can be a bit of a process to get it. Like, they will ask a lot of documents and things like this, and it can take a long time for it to be approved. I was looking at some Reddit threads of people saying that they've just been waiting for this visa to be approved for like months and months, that they don't know what's going on. So probably not the best process there. If you can't get that, then that is great. Longer term, they have the Malaysia Minds Second Home program, the MM2H, which has gotten a lot more expensive recently. I think you need to make quite a sizable bank deposit. You need to buy a property, things like this. I will leave the details down below in the description. But the big hurdle here for people like myself is that they have an age requirement. As far as I'm aware, you need to be 35 years or older to even access this visa. So if you're less than 35 years old, then this is simply not an option. So if you're less than 35 years old, for longer term, they just simply don't really have options for you unless you're like becoming an entrepreneur there, you're like starting a tech company or something. Then it's going to be more difficult to get visas that work for you in Malaysia. The positive is that they do have a 90-day visa exemption for a lot of countries. So you could just use that to stay in the country for up to 3 months of the year. Thailand, they now recently announced that they have a 60-day, it used to be 30 days, but now they have a 60-day visa exemption for a lot of countries. So that is great news as well. So if you're just looking to spend a little time in the country, then you can do that with those exemptions in both of these countries. As a conclusion, I think Bangkok is going to be more suited if you are single, if you are young, if you're looking for a high energy place, not necessarily if you're a party person. I'm not really a party person, but I was actually surprised to find out that I much preferred Bangkok. I much prefer the energy of Bangkok because I'm just the kind of person that really likes to have this energy around me, likes to be in a place where a lot is happening and things like this. And this surprised me. I fully expected that I would prefer KL, but I actually ended up much preferring Bangkok. I think Kuala Lumpur is more suited if you are perhaps a bit older, or if you're the kind of person where you just want a more peaceful environment. You don't like to have that much happening around you, like you don't care about that. If you are perhaps focused on raising a family, you want a bit more of a relaxed, more like slower paced life, then Kuala Lumpur is probably gonna be more of your vibe. Personally, I just found it slightly boring. Like I've been here a month now and I'm just looking around like, okay, what can I really do here? Why am I here? Like when I walk around in the city, I don't quite feel the energy that I personally like. Again, this is totally personal preference. So what I recommend you do is just check out both places if you're considering either of them, and then see for yourself, because you might be surprised. I was surprised. I was fully hypothesizing that I might prefer KL, but I ended up preferring Bangkok. So really, this is going to depend on you. And if you want help with visas for either of these places, I'm going to leave contacts down below that you can reach out to. The best contacts that I have found in both of these places. So go check out those links and I'll see you in the next video.